This is McCook's Mr. Bill's, an honor to have you here. News and commentator Paul Harvey. Throughout my life, I listened to that man, and a tremendous amount of intelligence he had, absolutely. And he told you something, you could believe it. You could believe it. And one of the things he said is it is not one world, absolutely. And I continually see that proof, continually clear to today, after his death. For example, ISIS cutting the heads off of people. I've seen video of it. There's nothing more disgusting and insane than seeing things like that, you would think, because it is not one world. Or the burning of witches. Over 200 people were killed this last year on Earth because they were accused of being a witch. You'd almost think we're in the Dark Ages, because it isn't one world. Yeah. One of the more graphic things I can remember on Discovery Channel is where I saw it. And there were two little boys, probably, give it 6, 8 years old, and tattered clothing, almost nothing on. And they were over in Africa, and it was a desolate desert landscape with just a blade of grass per acre type thing. The cattle, you could see their bones. It just looked horrible. And the water was so scarce that when the cow raised its tail to urinate, the boys ran under the cow, and that's how they got their bath. Water was so scarce that they used the cow's urine to take a bath or take a shower in. Absolutely insane, because it is not one world. I would finish with this. One of the things that shook me, because I've always been, since 1971 when I graduated, I said I'm going to be a survivalist. Not somebody that jumps from firefight to firefight, but somebody that tries to stay out of firefights or any kind of fights. At the same time, be prepared for anything. Be prepared. But I saw on the news when Bosnia war was going over there in Eastern Europe, and it was a terrible thing going on over there, almost a genocide attempt, if you will. And a man who had been educated, I believe he was a teacher, in an apartment in one of the cities over there, and nobody could move. Snipers were everywhere, and killing was rampant. And so they hid in their apartment, he and his family. No food, because he believed that the grocery stores would be open, and he believed law enforcement would always protect them, as many here in this country do. He then, on the news, they had him on film crying as he was telling it. He said, we had no options. He said, the only thing we could come up with to feed the family so we didn't starve to death was to, in fact, sell our daughters' virginity. We sold them to the soldiers for the evenings so that we could have something to eat. They prostituted their daughters. And he cried like you can't imagine. And what would you do in that situation? God only knows. But they did survive. But because they were not prepared, they paid a lot harder price, a lot heavier price. Absolutely. And so I, from then on, started preaching more and more and trying to teach others so that maybe that word would filter out, and if I could help just a few was my goal. And now I'm pushing 6 million views on YouTube. I want to thank you for that. At the same time, I hope you spread this, or you spread your own words of wisdom, of being prepared.